Okay. So the question was how to say like we're following somebody. And so I'm going to show you a couple different steps. Is one is this, which I don't know if we've used that much in this class, the Verbal Structure Handbook by James Crippen, which is an amazing document once we learn how to navigate it. It's made so that you can print it and fold it in half and carry it around. I do think there's a point where we'll probably try and create some sort of printed and bound sort of version of this. Basically, if you think of how Tlingit works, this is sort of a left to right type of thing, meaning the first things you encounter in terms of a verb, those things are you're going to see first, and then so it's going to go things before the verb to the prefix to the stem to the suffix to the things after the verb. It's kind of put together in that order. And so there's a bunch of stuff that this has. It's got general information on Tlingit, some dialect things on what makes the dialects kind of different, the different sounds in Tlingit, different types of nouns in Tlingit, all of the suffixes that can go onto basically a noun, and then a few things that aren't really suffixes but are similar. And so, like nak is not a suffix; it's its own word. Then it's got some of these large level directionals, like these universal directional things in Tlingit. And then it's got these relational directional terms next to, inside. Here's after or following. This is what we're going to get to. It's got some information on how vowels are treated in the different dialects, and also we start getting into adjectives. Sorry, let me zoom out a little bit. Pronouns, and a bunch of other stuff, and we can go through this stuff later. Here's some things you might see in preverbs commonly, or in the prefix, going to the verb root in the stem, and then suffixes, and then things that might come after. And it's showing you the sort of structure of it. And then it starts listing all these things you might find and what they generally mean, which is always interesting because we always have to remember that languages are different. So you find kind of an approximation. But, qone or qonaye, if you've never heard that before, if you're starting to hear those things and you're saying, well, what is that thing? You could probably find them in here mistakenly. And so these are things, like, so this is page 15, and these are things that can pop up before a verb. And some of them are directional things, and some of them are conceptual things, like by mistake is a conceptual thing. Going into the water is a directional thing. What this also starts to show you is when you put these things in front of a verb, is what type of motion are you going to end up with? And that's an important thing. This also shows you things that can be built into the noun, or into the verb. Nouns that can be built into the verb, like eye and skin and other things, like duktut is a verb. It means dark skin. And khashakach is a verb. It means sharp hair. And khashtuj is a verb. It means black hair. Um, so we're going to go down, skip down a little bit, and we get to page 26. And here we're shown these different directional things, and then what type of motion it's going to be. So we can sort of browse through, and there's basically these are showing you what might pop up before the verb. The equal sign, and then the other things means that it could be it could be kuch, it could be kuch, or it could be kuchte. Uh, and returning, running aground, moving into the water, out of the water, those types of things. Coming near, turning over. There's a whole bunch of these ones. emerging into the open, going into the water. Uh, and what we're going to look for is to follow, which should be it. Let's see if I can find it. Getting lost. Well, it's going to be a combination of this one. So to follow someone is going to be that person. So like ach ha'ish, and then you're going to say it. So it's going to be the high tone it, which means to follow, and then this because it's going to happen repeatedly. So that's the first part of the verb. And what it is going to be is a na conjugation motion. So if we go to the verbs, and we're looking for this ought verb, in almost, not quite any form, but we're going to look for the na version of it. So we can look at gunde if we wanted to, or we can just look at this one, day. And what we're going to look for is we're going to look for this perfective habitual form, because that's the form that we're kind of looking at. And then it gets a little bit interesting if we want to say used to always, because that's getting into a little bit of a challenging kind of territory. But it's not actually terribly hard. So this says ade, so the ade would actually be substituted by ha'ish itch. And then because we substitute ade and we put itch in there, that doesn't end with a vowel, so now the na is going to uncompress there. So what I would expect, ha'ish itch, not to utjin. And so there's a couple of things that are going to happen, and let me put this, let me write it out. Put this over here. There's that. So, oops. So this would be to follow. Like sometimes I'd say this to us. We're following along from our ancestors. We're following our ancestors. And then, so I'd say na to at jin. Oops. So there were a couple changes that we made to what's listed here. And the first thing was we changed this part. So this part we changed, ha'ish itch. But what we find with these motion verbs is they show us this verb, but like what comes before it can change. Any type of na conjugation. So this could change from ade to hit day, hit dach, anach. It could be shakanach. It could be a whole bunch of different things. But those would all be na conjugations. And then the other thing that we did is we put this decessive on there to say it used to always happen. Because one thing that we talk about, and so Tlingit likes to convey lots of information at the same time. We used to do it, but we don't do it anymore, right? Because this is something you use in certain contexts. Like I used to, that boat sunk, so I'm not going around in it anymore. Our dad's not here anymore, so we're not following him, but this is something we used to always do. So this is how you would use like a habitual, this thing for following. It is to just follow something around, and then to put the decessive on the end, which causes the CH to change to a J. Okay?
Renee, I'm just looking back through some old stuff here, and I've got this sentence. His wife followed him on a white horse.
Oh,
Uh, and I'll tell you what I had,
okay.
but there is no any conjugation. So I had late gum done, a doodly dick, do it, we do shut. And how, so that's not right, but how would you change that?
Oh, okay. So say it one more time.
I had late gum done, a doodly dick, do it, we do shut. A doodly dick would be to be riding the horse, eh? Uh, uh, and then I had do it, we do shut. And I was trying to say his wife followed him on a
Oh,
horse.
yeah. So I would say do do shut away. I'd probably put that on there just so it's clear that she's the one who's doing it. Um, and so that's and so we have this adutlidik, which is to go on a horse, which is really interesting because I don't know enough about I don't know if you can really move that around. Like I think you probably could, but one thing that I would suspect is it has an embedded noun as a verb root. And so sometimes like dich, so that can't go to dir. I don't think it could. I think that would have to be dich every time. And so if you were to put that on there, um, I think it would probably still say the same, but I don't, if, especially if a speaker gave you that particular verb form, then I think you could put it in the perfective, which would be outdutlich. But it's really interesting. But I don't know if it could be she gave you the form, which would be a person, riding on horseback using a fourth person. So if that were the case, um, my prediction would be outdutlich. But it's a bit of a guess because that's a new verb that we're looking at to ride on a horse. And then the question, and I guess the two questions I would have is one, is is there a fourth person verb that's kind of frozen in there, which does happen sometimes, or like kauduasai, chet kauduasai, that du is in there, just kind of frozen. So is that frozen in there, or is that a subject that we can change? The second question I have is that like an event verb, like to ride on a horse? Or is that an actual motion verb to say he went by horse to there, he went by horse from there, or she did? So that's a good one. That's a good one.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense actually, how you're thinking about it.
And then I guess the other thing is if it does change the subject and if it changes to a third person, would it stay plus D or not? I would suspect that it does, but there's a lot of verbs where the fourth person will push it plus D, and so you'd have dudle, but then when you switch it to the third person, you'd have autle. Okay. Shauna Kate, did you have another question?
Yeah, we'd always listen to Dad.
Okay. Yeah, this will be a similar thing. So we'll go down to listen, and then take time, there's kind of two different ways to come at that. Uh, and so there's two different verbs. So they're both going to have to do with ha'ish, ate. But then it's just a matter of, are we taking the time to listen, or are we um, listening and doing what he says? And so those are,
Doing what he says.
yeah, so it would be this one. And then what we would look for is this habitual, right? And so we say khwasa, and so we could say ha'ish awe do eight. So now we've got this part, do eight, and instead of khwasa, we're gonna get, and then again, so this is, we see ach as a long low, and so the in is gonna be high. Tusa achin. We always used to listen to him. And that can be interpreted in two different ways. Like he would talk and we would be actually listening whenever he talked. But it could also be interpreted as we always did what he said. We obeyed him. Um, and again, we take this perfective habitual and we throw the in on the end. And it's a pretty straightforward switch once we learn how to do that, to say you can move from always used to, or from always to always used to. And the other thing is, once we've got the arch, sa'arch, we can change the person from me right here, or I, to us. Okay. Anybody else have any language questions you were working on? Okay. Okay.
I got one more.
Ah,
Now, I ran upon this other form of follow. Ash Lechan. I followed him. Ash Lechan.
where was that one from?
I think it was from the this dictionary you're looking at. It's anyway. It's AA, and then SH, and then X underline Lechan. But there's no past tense of the verb chan.
Oh, I see. So it's like khan, right?
I don't know why. I guess they have every other tense. And that was the big conjugated verb in house and ache.
To accompany. Yeah, ach ish tlechan wekek. Ya shnalchan. Yeah, so this is, let me check this out. Yeah, so this is a good one. This means to like, as opposed, and these are sort of some concept level differences. So du itch and chakut would be they're walking and I am walking behind them. Because it is related to eat, so like the remains, and so it means to just literally be right behind someone. Khan, now you're putting the verb khan on there, which is the same verb root as sikhan, to love something. It's the same thing as like akhani qanu, sit next to me. Akhana dukhant khwagut. It's all the same type of thing. So this one is saying the verb literally means to always be with that person, be beside them, and so it's conceptually just a little bit different. So uh, if you said like so like that one, uh, ha'ish itch natu atjin would be like wherever our dad went, we were right behind him, walking with him. Whereas if you were saying this one, wherever my dad was, we were just always with him. And there could be a number of different ways to say that. Uh, this one, I would think of uh, like two people who were never apart. That would be sort of this one, the way I think of it. The other way,
So this one would be the wrong use for when he would take us fishing or something like that.
probably, I think of this one more like being inseparable. That's how I would think of this one. Um, and so the itch would probably make sense because he went and then we just went behind him. But the other one, you could also say du'in ha wusatian, so to be with somebody, you could also use that one. Um, which we got from, we were doing some work with Kushtak Oish, Bill Fawcett, and he was saying that, like, thanks for being with us. He said, "Gunchish ha'in in chisati." And so what you've got there is a sati verb, which you can grab from here to be or become, and then you can grab this one. You wouldn't say there's no perfective habitual form, so you could say, yeah, another way to say we were always with our dad. Ha'ish in ha wusati nugin. So you could say that like we were always with him. Like, and so that's another way to say like we were just always with him. This one, ha'ish itch natu atchin, would mean like wherever he went, we followed behind. So like just conceptually, they're just sort of doing some different things. And then as far as this one, this sh and gle, khan. The one thing you've got is it's going to be khan every single time. So it's an invariable root. So you could say, and we've got the sh pronoun, which means you can't really put other pronouns in there. And there's a little bit more we've got to sort of figure out with this verb. I would guess that there's a subject in there. It gives us third person examples, so we can't see that. Ach I, so you could say do I, and it's, let me try and figure out a little bit more about this. Because it's showing us shklechan. Like, so that's probably state. Oh, I don't know. There's some fun stuff to figure out with this one. Let's see if there's any examples in
We can just cheat and spell it different and go ach ish.
oh yeah, yeah. Well, ach ish I shklechan. Yeah, so it likes to go around with him. It's probably a g state verb, I would guess. But would have to take this shklechan verb and would have to try it out with the speaker. So what would have to do, like sometimes when we look up a verb and we see what kind of information is there, we can guess by other verbs. So we know that sechan is a verb that's ga conjugation, and we can look up some stuff with it and then take a guess on the other. Oh, I keep doing that. So if we go down to khan, oh, there it is. Yay. So she already did the work for us. So yes, there is a subject there. Oops. The SH is reflexive, so it's locked in there. And then it wants to have a noun before it, and that noun could be NE. Um, so we've got shchotlechan, and then, yeah, so it is a G state verb. So here we'd have shkachanch. So we could do the same kind of verb detective work, and we go ha'ish, e, and then so we've got shkachanch, shka, tul, chan, jin. So we always used to, we just, and I guess that one's like we always wanted to be with him. That's how I would sort of think of that. With that chan verb, it's sort of like you're being next to, you're being with. Um, and again, so this one, we can see the third person perfective habitual. So here's the ga, and then here's the classifier. Right in between those is where the subject would be. So we can change the subject to a third person. T goes long if there's no vowel in the classifier. Khan stays the same. And then the CH becomes a J if we put the decessive marker on there. Okay.
Wow, that's some good moves there.
Yeah.
Knowing that to put two and knowing to replace the just the GA
Yeah. So that GA stays there.
and then replacing the CH with a gin.
Yep. And so now you could take any of these and move them into use. And then basically what you're getting with that is when you put that jin on the end, and in this case, that's what it's going to be, is used to always, but not. And this is how you really reflect on things. And you'll see speakers who'll do this if they're talking about their own relatives or sometimes activities they used to do. So, like Shah Dog, he's saying, Ach yagu yikt at nachakuchin, right? I used to always go around in this boat, but it sank, or I don't go around in boats anymore. Okay.
Because what I was going to try to do is say we would we followed him, past tense followed always, and then I'd add pluck, but I couldn't get the past tense of khan, love, or form of follow here until you just did it here.
Yeah, because and so with Tlingit, like perfective really looks at, um, it just says, let's look at this verb in terms of whether or not it has happened. So it doesn't, it's interesting because it has a little less to do with time and more to do with just whether or not it has happened. But if we need to sort of say, well, this used to happen all the time, but not, it doesn't anymore. So this is the whole like we used to always type of thing. You're going to reach for one of these, and then tuck, whenever you put tuck or tuck in the front, you should be looking for a habitual version of that verb. And then the thing about doing this type of work is you're going to start to figure out how to do these ones yourself. And so, but this is where you got to get a bunch of information about that verb, and then you'll see how to put those things together. And then some of the differences, like this one is pretty straightforward, like wherever he went, we went there as well. And then this one was, we were always together. We always used to be together. And then I would say this one was, we love to be around him. We always love to be around him. And so there's sort of the thinking, the logic behind the way you're saying these and the reasons are just a little different for each one. Okay, that's good stuff. Ah,
One more quick one, hopefully, Kone. How would you say, and I guess what I'm trying to say, she shot her first moose. And it's the first that I'm not sure about, eh?
Shuku I would think of as the first. So like there's a couple different ways, like whether when we start sequencing things. Um, and so what we're looking at is sometimes we'll use shuhua, but shuhua would be sort of like the order that things have happened. And same with there's another one, sa, like only after this thing happened could this other thing happen. So it's more sort of putting some things in the same sort of time frame. But shugunach or shugua would be like the initial one, the first one. So I would say, and I would probably say, I wonder if you could say that. So I would probably say do shugu uqa jaqi'at. That's probably what I would put in there, which would be the first thing that she killed. And so that uqajaqi at it's a pretty neat one, and you'll see a similar one with like uqachayi. That's how that one's spelled. Uqachayi at. So it's kind of on its own. It's translated as something that she might kill, and then something that she might eat. And so this one is used in the Raven stories. They'll say, "Uqachai atqaquwashi." He was looking for something he might eat. And so this one, and let me check the spelling. I'll show you where. This one comes from, let's see, Hashuka. And the Huk story. So when they start going through, I think it was the things that they kill. Why did they have that? I'll have to find it, but I know, oh, they would go home from their kill. I think that's it. Hajaqati. There it is. And then it was somewhere else maybe that I saw that. Um, Jaqati. So I would probably, and that might be it too. Do Shugu. So that might be a better one. Dushuku Jaqati. So the first one that she killed. And then you could specify like Zisk. Right. And so I'd probably put that one like not possessed. And so Dushuku Jaqati Zisk. The first one that she killed. Or you could say there's probably multiple ways to do it. So Dushuku. So those of you who are working with speakers, maybe try some of these out and see which ones they prefer. I would expect Shugu to be on there, but there could be something else though. But Shugunach and Shugu are usually like the first ones. You're talking about like the first kill, the first car that was made, the first whatever. It could be the first time. It kind of depends. When we get into like times, like the first time I saw this, it's sometimes a little different.
Gnotzish.
Okay, so if you guys have a chance, check on those, see what speakers say, and or just ask if you have access to a speaker. Just ask them how they would say that, because sometimes if you say, "Would you say it like this, or this?" you might sort of But just it's sometimes better just ask them how they say it and then to check back and see how close we might have been. And then what we'll do on Wednesday is we'll take a look at this. I just want to look through this narrative of Elizabeth Nyman telling her life story and just sort of do a little bit of a different read than in the past. So in the past, we've done these long stretches and just read it in Tlingit, which I think is great. After you guys do your presentations next week, we'll probably go back to some other narratives and just do that. A little hatu inagu, yes, we'll take maybe a different approach. We'll see how you guys want to do it. But I think we should just read it one sentence at a time and see if there's anything you want to talk about in each of these sentences. Because she's talking about her life, and it's an autobiography, which is a pretty unusual thing. Yeah, let me go back to these. And so that's what we'll do on Wednesday. And then let me know about your first moose kill sentence. See what you get. If you have any other language things that you're trying to sort of put together, bring them here because it's fun to workshop this stuff and to also say, remember that we're all learning, so it's fun to learn together. I don't expect you guys to just sort of be able to do everything on your own all the time. We're getting there, but okay. Anything else? We're out of time. Tahooch. Okay, good cheese.
I have a quick question,
Okay.
Kutlea Kianu. So I've been having trouble downloading the MP3s from the class website.
Okay.
I was wondering if I'm doing something wrong. Do you have a suggestion? From the recordings, you're on the right page. From the recordings, class recordings.
Like this one here. Oh, from
up higher. Oh, where was it? Class folder, recordings, comma notes, etc. Class folder. So I was looking in recordings and I was trying to download so that I could listen to the story while I was reading it.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't get it to download because it's MP3, I think, but I'm not sure.
If you right click, there should be an option right there to download.
I tried that and instead my computer played it instead of downloading it.
Oh, really?
But I'll try that again. Ooh, how about if I right click and say open with a different
Or save.
save?
Hmm.
Okay, I'll try that.
Okay, yeah. So if I would try the save file if you have that option.
I'll try that one that way.
Yeah.
Benachish.
Okay. Oh, and then Shauna Kate. So let's look at your voice image question on Wednesday. I guess it kind of depends. Let's take a quick look and see. It might be a longer term solution. I'm not too sure. Are you saying like if you open something? Uh,
Well, my wife was going to email you. She said she thinks you just needed to send a different format. Right now, we just couldn't get the image to isolate the voice segments and then start typing.
Are you talking about like you see these squiggly lines right here?
Yeah.
You don't see those?
No, there's nothing there.
Okay. And which story are you working on?
Kaskawu, the 19-minute Cyril George with the red vest.
Oh, okay. Was it the Nusk one? That one?
Yes.
If you can send the WAV file.
Yeah, she says if you can send the WAV file.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because it should be in there. Hold on one second. Let's go back to the shared folder thing. Okay, I'm gonna use a different. Let's. So for that one, let's see. So on that folder that I sent, uh, for the UC files, it should be in there. So here's the, oh, maybe I don't have it. Oh, that's really strange. Okay, let me drop the WAV file into this folder. I guess it's not there. It's really weird. Okay, let me try and see what might be going on. Oops, oops, oops. Oh, I see. I put it in the wrong spot. Okay.
You figured it out?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Let me fix that right. I'll get it started now.
Ha! Gnachish.
So you should see it in a little bit. It'll pop up in that same shared folder. I put it in the wrong folder. Hey, gonna cheese you on. Ah,
Cheese.
Gee.